Hi there, my name is Nils with Learn to DIY, and if you've got any part on your car, interior or exterior, that you want to make a different color, I'm going to show you how you can do that with no disassembly, with no special equipment, and all for less than $50. This is my 2014 Toyota Tundra. I just bought it. It's a used vehicle and I love everything about it, except for I'm not a big fan of all the chrome that it had in front. You can see here what it looked like before and what it looks like now. So whether you're a fan of chrome or not, it's a personal preference, but the fact is I wanted the color changed, and so I went through this process, and it's actually a lot easier than you might think. Now the secret ingredient is this stuff right here. It's called Plasti Dip, and contrary to the name, you don't have to actually dip anything. It comes, as you can see, in a rattle can or a spray paint can.
Let's get started. The first step is to thoroughly clean all of the surfaces that you're going to spray. Once you've cleaned those off, use a mixture of 50% alcohol and 50% water to degrease and de-oil the entire surface. Step 2 is masking. Now, unlike a traditional paint job, you're actually going to offset your masking by about a ½ inch or 1 to 2 centimeters from the area that you want to spray. This will make a lot more sense in the fourth step when we remove the excess. Now, one mistake you can see that I made here is I neglected to cover up the radiator behind the grill. Be sure to cover up anything you don't want sprayed. With the prep work knocked out, it's time to spray. Now, a few tips here. Your first coat with Plasti Dip should be fairly light. Hold the can about 12 inches away from the surface and do a nice light coat. Your second and subsequent coats can be a lot thicker and a little bit closer, like you see here. Be sure to let each coat dry for about 15 minutes before applying the next one. Now, one thing I also neglected to do was to put on my R95 respirator. Make sure to always wear proper breathing protection when spraying. Now typically you'll only need 4 to 5 coats, but I went ahead and did 6 before moving on to my next step, which is completely optional: Glossifier. Glossifier is a Plasti Dip product that allows you to take your Plasti Dip from a matte finish to a gloss finish in just a few coats.
Now while you're watching this process, I'd like to tell you about our sponsor for this video, Fixer.com. Fixer.com is a group of professional tradespeople in multiple fields that are available to help you via a video consultation on your mobile device, and they can walk you through whatever process that you're planning or whatever project you're in the middle of. So head on over to Fixer.com/learn-to-DIY, where you'll save $10 on your consultation with a plumber, an electrician, or another tradesperson, and you can have that peace of mind of knowing you'll get the project done right. Now, back to this project.
Now, after letting all 4 coats of Glossifier dry, I added my secret ingredient, which is Gloss Clear Engine Enamel. This stuff adds a really nice shine to the final product and also protects it that much more. Once that final coat is dry, we're ready to move on to step 4.
I'm just going to get back to my layer of tape here. There we go. Tear right in. And what happens is you start to get this almost like a balloon. The latex on or the Plasti Dip looks like a latex balloon peeling. It's pretty crazy. So what I'm doing is I'm carefully pulling away from the painted area. I'm just going to leave that little torn layer, which is just fine. We'll pull that off in a minute. Okay, so once you get it started, you can basically just pull it up and it breaks itself just at the right place, because as it's spraying down in there, there's less for it to hold on to. You don't have a parallel surface, and so you can just, it's weak there, and it just trims itself. And now I'm going to uncover these fog lights. I love that, just kind of comes off like a peeling layer of skin or a balloon. And all we have to do is grab on and peel back. There we go. Just like that, nice perfect line. I love it. Now for the 3 tips that I had mentioned earlier that will hopefully save you some hassle when you're doing this job. Number 1, I used this Rust-Oleum trigger because I thought it would save my hands and save me some fatigue from pushing on the button the whole time. And while yes it did, what I neglected to do was to do a little sample piece. What I should have done is sprayed just with the can by itself a little bit to see how much flow I was getting out of it, and then sprayed with this. I would have realized that I was actually getting only about a half press with this thing versus just going right out of the can because this button wasn't pushing down all the way on here. So I would have done that differently and probably just not used this, or at least tested it out before to see if it was working or not. Now the second tip I have for you has to do with your spray angles. I went out of my way to make sure I was spraying up and down and left and right and not just spraying straight on the whole time. I tried to get excellent coverage, but one area I didn't do as well on was the door handles. I have chrome door handles that I was spraying, and I didn't do as good a job as I could have at getting the back side of them. And as you can see, we're starting to get a little peeling here because I didn't do a good job at getting a nice thick coat all the way around. It's a tricky spot to work in, so keep that in mind. It may change your mind as to whether you want to do that sort of a job where you have to go all the way around or not. Now the third thing I would recommend is that you be a little overly vigilant when it comes to masking. I actually did have more overspray than I had prepared for, and as a result some of the overspray got onto the vehicle itself. The nice thing with Plasti Dip is that it really isn't a big deal. You can wipe it off, but you don't want to spend a lot of time or waste a lot of time wiping areas down or checking to see if you've got any overspray. So I would recommend that you just be a little over the top when it comes to your masking, just in case. I just want to give a quick shout out to my Patreons. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. If you want to join in the club and support me on Patreon, you can do so at patreon.com/learn2DIY. Now, if you enjoy working on your car and some DIY projects like this, another vehicle related tip I've got for you is how to recharge your air conditioning system. It's easier than you might think, and it can save you a lot of money by having to go to the mechanic. So check out the video right here to learn more.